Hello, hello, hello. What's up, Dawn? How you doing, buddy? It's Sunday night, and we're back in the shop. We're getting it clean. What's happening, everybody? I hope your day's going good. Mine's all right. Hopefully, you've had a good weekend. I know, Dawn, because you're in PA also, so you've had decent. It's been a pretty nice weekend weather-wise. Just trying to pull it over back here so we can see the comments and slowly slide it down. There we go. We'll lock it there. All right. Yes, it was a beautiful weekend here in Pennsylvania, and we're back out in the shop. We're hanging out. Dakota may stop by. We're going to see if he's bored. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for stopping in. Like I said, look, the shop's actually starting to look like a shop. How's that? We're getting it clean. That's amazing. I've been working on it for a couple hours. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, about 25 jugs of used motor oil and transmission fluid here that's going to have to go to the recycler. Unless someone around here, I'm going to see if somebody has a waste oil furnace. And road tripped up to Buffalo. Oh, yeah, it's beautiful out, isn't it? What a weekend, man. Compared to the weather we had last week, how crappy it was this weekend, man, it was beautiful today. I got work done on the Pontiac for my friend. We got the turn signal switch changed in the steering column, got that working for him, got a couple other things laid out, squared away, and then it said because Tommy had to go visit his mom later today, I took the opportunity to clean the garage a little bit this afternoon. We got some things coming up this week. Well, guys, it came down to it, and I talked about it. As most people know, I do swimming pools in the summertime and trying to do this YouTube thing. It's rough getting Tommy to do. What's up, first responder garage? Yeah, I'm getting the work done. I'm gonna be so happy. Everything's coming out of here. I've been in this shop now for almost 20 years, so you can imagine like the corners of stuff built up. We've cleaned it up through the years. What's up, Lars? How you doing? Happy Sunday. Thanks for popping in. But if you're in a building for 20 years working in it, you're going to get built up. And I mean, I was back there finding stuff that's been just stuffed in corners, and I have engines underneath. Yep, Dawn's first. I've had engines underneath the tool bench back there, literally probably 16 years. I got some Suzuki engines back there out of these trackers and Samurais. And I got a twin cam motor back there in front of the Samurai in the corner. It's a 1.3 twin cam out of a Suzuki Swift GT. Hey JB, what's happening, man? Thanks for stopping in. Not much. We're hanging out. Like I said, telling everybody getting the shop clean, but I'm doing swimming pools. I'm scatterbrained right now. Give me a couple minutes to settle in here. I do swimming pools in the summertime, and I do YouTube. The YouTube's been slacking a little bit right now because we've been dealing with Tommy catching back up on his work and everything, and he's got a couple of videos he's going to be posting. I've been slacking because I've been trying to get all the loose ends wrapped up here on everything else before winter. I got a bunch of work yet I've been got to do to my house. I spent last Saturday running new water lines and things like that, and putting a heater in. Until we added an extra because I heat my house with wood, but I added a nice auxiliary propane style furnace in there too for when we're not there. The shop upgrade we're looking at, we found a couple overhead natural gas shop units. We're going to get one and hang in the shop here because we have access to natural gas. What's up? What's up, Jeff? Thanks for popping in. We're going to have some pretty cool stuff going on here. Because the pool season for us in Pennsylvania ended right around Labor Day. We're usually done for the year. We've been doing a lot of this first responder garage. Yeah, we've all been slacking. We like to slack. Yeah, what's up, Wendy? Yeah, we're all slackers sometimes, but big news is tomorrow I got to go in for a little bit. I'm back to my gig running tow truck. We got a local shop about 12 miles away, and I drove for the guy years ago. It's been probably now almost probably 16 or 17 years since I drove for the guy, but it's a nice little part-time gig. But stink bugs coming here on the thing, but it's a little part-time gig. I'm going to go help him from 4 to midnight in the evenings. And the nice thing about that is this job, we tow for AAA, we tow for the city, we tow for the police, we tow for everybody. But instead of just being on call at home with the tow truck, when I tow for this guy, he has a gas station there. So basically, you hang out in the gas station. It's a full service station, so you might have to pump a little bit of gas here or there, and then just take the tow calls. So we're going to be doing that again. I mean, I did it before. I do love it. Other than being dangerous and people trying to run you over and kill you, I love driving tow truck. It is fun. He's got, when I worked for him before, he had this beautiful 94 Super Duty Ford with a 460 and a 5-speed. And it was just a little wrecker, man. I loved that little truck. Unfortunately, he said about 2 years ago, it finally got rotted to the point that he sent it down the road. But he has a couple, or one newer Ford, just wrecker with a wheel left on it. And then the rest is tilt beds now, flat rollbacks, because everything's all-wheel drive. So he just said it wasn't worth having a wrecker. So we're going to go help him for a little bit in the evening, and it'll give us some spare stuff. That way, like I said, we just got a lot of stuff to do. And it seems like getting, you know how this is in this economy right now, when you're putting, $100 plus a week in your fuel tank, it doesn't take long to go through money. So that little bit of money will help us with that. And it falls into a nice routine. I always like that shift. I like working 4 to midnight. So we'll be up there doing that. And my downtime, I can take the laptop with me, and when I'm sitting at the station doing nothing, I can work on my videos, editing them, getting content out for everybody. Plus, the cool thing is I'll have some cool content, because one thing about running the tow truck, you get to see where all the cars are hidden, all the ones you see in backyards. Unfortunately, you do get to see some accidents. We don't want anybody to get hurt, but yeah, you know how that feels. But yeah, we don't want to see nobody get hurt in accidents, but accidents do get views. So we'll put that stuff on there. I imagine I got a pretty nice body camera set up that goes with the GoPro, so maybe we'll just wear it most of the time if we get into anything serious, and we'll go ahead and get some video of it. It's a blast up there. We had fun. I mean, when I worked up there years ago, like one of my best friends in the world, he worked with me. We worked the same shift, and we had another couple friends that worked there, and we just basically just hung out in the gas station all night and took tow calls, took turns on who would go, and it ain't bad for a part-time job. The pay's good, and so it'll be a nice change. It'll give me something to do till spring. I told him it's not going to be a permanent gig, but it'll let me work till at least pool season, and then pool season I can probably work around. If I doing pools next summer, I can also do towing too. So with this sport, it's expensive, so the more money you can make, the better off you are, because we got a bunch of stuff to do with our car. We got to get our motorhome finish put together for next year. We got to get us a nice tow rig put together. My trailer's set in the yard with no deck on it. So yeah, we're pretty much rock bottom right now. So we're going to try to dig ourselves out of this hole. Anybody that wants to join in, if you go back to the top of the comments, I have a link posted there. So anybody that wants to jump in, you're welcome to jump in. Other than that, so we just enjoyed this beautiful day. I mean, I got the shop probably, heck, I didn't know I had a floor in here, guys. There's a floor in here. I mean, it's a big difference. I mean, let me grab this real quick and just show you guys this mess that I was working with. Like I said, you got to remember, I've worked out of this shop, like I said, that we've lived here at this shop I've worked out of this shop honestly for 20 years, and for probably, I don't know, a few of them years, it ended up just everything I had got stored in here. So we just stuff everything in the corners, stuff it where you can. And then I always tried to keep enough room open in here for one car to run, or to run one car at a time. But we're going to get everything cleaned out because I've had cars in this garage 3 wide and 2 deep. So I've had 6 cars parked in here at one time. Obviously, when you get 6 cars packed in here, you can't really work on them, but you can get them all in here when it's empty. The shop's 28 by 38 with the door's 9 foot, and I think the bottom of the ceiling joist there is about 10.5 foot. So want to get everything cleaned up. Like I said, hopefully we can get caught up. We're going to get a lift in here because they're actually quite reasonable. I'm not getting any younger. I'm tired of crawling around on the floor. What's up? Well, yeah, stopping in. Cool, man. Seen your post. Yeah, man, there's people there, man. We understand that. Yeah, Hill Jack, I do need a lift. We'll get one. Like I said, you're local, so you're gonna have to make a guest appearance or something, why don't you? We'll have to set something up, man. If you want, you can come out here and hang out with us on a live, either on a Sunday or a Tuesday night. Since you're only a couple miles down the road, but as you guys can see, my garage is still trash, but it's a lot better than it was because at least now I can walk in here. And a couple days ago, I couldn't do that. Oh, it's just terrible. We got everything put together. What's up, Dakota? What is happening? Hey, I was watching your video, Dakota, on there, and that gauge jumping around, and I went back and looked, and we're going to have to check that out a little bit. That's why I asked you about what cam was in that motor, because that gauge was bouncing around a little bit. It looked like it was jumping from 19 down to about 12 or so, but it was running pretty. I've seen them jump like that. If it doesn't have an aftermarket cam or anything in there weird, the carburetor being way out of adjustment can make that gauge hop around like that. But I've seen worn valve guides that'll make a gauge hop around like that. So we're going to have to get in there and try to figure out what that is. Like I said, tons are going on. Yes, it is. So you're going to build that all-wheel drive then, Firebird, then Buff? Is that your plan for next year? So our biggest plan for next year, honestly, is just to get that Cummins in Winnebago, so we can bring it with us and use it to at least tow one vehicle down. 11 to 13 carbs and adjust. Okay, 223. Okay, yeah, I wonder because that gauge was bouncing around a little bit. I remember you saying about it being a cam in there. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, it's reading 11 to 13 a vacuum, carbs and adjustment cams. Okay. I just seen it jumping around. It had me a little bit worried there. It may be nothing if the car runs good. Pink engines at 360, strip right, Mike. They knew all the stuff. Cool, that would be awesome. First responder garage. Yeah. 6-liter LQ9 turbo all-wheel drive. That's cool, man. That'll be the sleeper there because no one's ever going to expect that Firebird. Well, Dakota, it should. Usually your vacuum gauge was usually it shouldn't jump around. But we'll get to it. If the car is running good, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If the car's driving around good, Dakota, it's not bad. We'll keep an eye on it. Usually, like I said, I didn't know at first. I seen it. I was like, man, that gauge was really jumping around. That's what I commented on. It kind of had me worried there for a second. But you say the car is running good, so you should be all right. Buff, what front differential you get running at? Like something like out of an S series or something? S10, S15? Is that the plan? Because we was figuring that. I mean, I thought about something like that with a G body, since the front suspension of a G body, I believe, like the older S10s and the G bodies. I think they share like the same A arms and stuff on the 2-wheel drive stuff. So I imagine with a G body, it wouldn't be that hard to get an S10 suspension. The only thing is the S10 4-wheel drive is right on torsion bars, but I seen with your Pontiac, you have no problem if you got to go custom on the suspension, so I'm sure you'll figure that out. I've seen like one of those old Bravados had the old Bravado had an all-wheel drive transfer case in it. It had the one, that you could leave it where it would go. Yeah, the Blazer looked great underneath. Yeah, rust prevention's fine, man. I've had quite a few vehicles that automatically prevents rust. But yeah, I think some of them old Bravados did have an all-wheel drive transfer case, and I think on most of that Chevy stuff on the 4-wheel drive, I think most of the transfer cases will interchange. I think they're all like a 6-bolt, that round bolt pattern. Well, you could get a case in there. If you could get a case out of something that was like full-time 4-wheel drive, or at least has that 4x4 auto, it might be a little bit better splitting the power. I mean, in a straight line, it's fine to have it, but I mean, you could always just shift it into 2-wheel drive if you're driving around normal, but it'd be really cool to set it up with something. Yeah, yeah, it's bolted to a 4L60. That's the only issue, but that's good as long as you're not going to make a ton of power with the 4L60. But yeah, you're right. There was an all-wheel drive Trailblazer case. That would be later too, so that would be more compatible, especially if you were going to run like a GM computer or maybe run like the Holly Terminator with the transmission control would probably work with a setup like that because then you could control the transmission. I think those transfer cases and those are somewhat mechanical, so it should be all right with that. But that's going to be a wicked project. I can't wait to see Buff when he gets started on that because that's going to be pretty wild. No one's going to ever expect Firebird to rip and tear like that. It's going to be crazy. Definitely going to be crazy. What's up?
Just come up, check everything out.
No, nothing. I seen. I had a phone call, but I couldn't answer it. Oh, good man. Yeah, she knows, huh? Yeah, oh, she usually knows. Some people don't have stuff. You know, someone here in the water, stuff in the garage, gone. Dakota's hanging out. We're talking about Dakota. Yeah, that's the camera does that. Yeah, we're just working it out. Talking to everybody that took the Sunday evening to pop in. Yeah, that's great that they do. Yeah. But always talk about how nice it was this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That we got a lot done here at the shop. That's good. And we'll get more. That way we have room in here for more activities. We need room for activities. Okay, select mode. Yeah, another word for drive. Yeah. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, basically that all-wheel drive setting. The transfer cases that have all-wheel drive just have like a differential. It's got a center differential, and then it locks that for true 4-wheel drive. But then when that center differential is unlocked, it'll let a little bit of variation of wheel speed between front and rear. That way you're not binding your drive line up. So that'll work good as long as you got that all-wheel drive setting. Will work. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed if you ever driven a truck that was just straight 4-wheel drive and you drove it out on the road and tried to turn it, it'll bounce. What is it? Yeah, as I said, it's the camera I'm watching on here. Oh yeah, it does sound cooler with the all-wheel drive. Sounds cooler, but I mean, even 4-wheel drive, you gotta watch too. I guess, Buff. We got some guys around here that thought it was a good idea. There's like a guy that has like I think it's a 4th gen Camaro, and he has it on like a Blazer frame or something. So you get out here in the sticks with these hillbillies, and you say you got a 4-wheel drive Firebird, they might think you got it on a truck. frame. Yeah, the Escalade had it. Yeah, yeah, that should work. That's just a little bit heavier components, but that should all fit. Is that you're gonna use that front differential then in your car too, or yeah, no frames up. Yeah, I know. There's guys that not, that I don't know. They just make these hideous looking mud machines. I'm like, of all the trucks and SUVs on the road that came four wheel drive and all that, you're gonna go through all that work to put a car body on it. Just, I've never been a big fan of the four wheel drive El Camino either. Appalachian Americans. Hey, now I resemble that comment. We just don't put car bodies on frames. That's or on truck frames. I remember years ago there was an article like that. It was in Hot Rod magazine. It was like that was the article. It had these big words that said, "Please stop putting car bodies on truck frames. Thank you." But it's true. I mean, I don't know. It kind of defeats the whole purpose. If I was going to build just a four wheel drive, yeah, an all wheel drive Asta would work. Yeah, you have everything. I was just wondering how you was going to do with your front. No, four wheel drive neon. Oh, don't give these guys any ideas, first responder. Seriously, don't give them any ideas. They'll be running around. They'll be looking for 2,500 chassis to put neons on with Cummins in them. I guess you got to do something when the body falls apart. But nah, yeah, that'll work out good. You got a solid plan, Buff. That should work out well. I was just curious of how you was going to make the front hubs and everything work. What you was going to do. Like I was saying, you could probably use, yeah, Dakota chassis and neon body would work. Yeah, now, Bob, you're encouraging them too now. Come on now. They'll have to move to No Name Nationals, little field down there in Louisiana or in Mississippi or Missouri. I'll get the state right, but we'll all have to show up and go mudding. Yeah, plan's the one thing you have. See, that's what. Well, see, that generation Firebird has that like a McPherson strut setup, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of what kind of spindles we could use to transfer the power from the center differential out to it without having to use the heavy truck stuff and having a 6 bolt Firebird. Said I know we could probably, I'm talking we like I'm there. You're clear across there. Make it mid-engine. Nah, let's not do that. But I was thinking, like I said, I seen that all-wheel drive G body that guy built. And that's basically he just used everything out of like a Chevy S10, the Astro van. He used that style. He used the steering knuckles and the axles and all of that, and was able to make an all-wheel drive G body. I mean, it's doable. You definitely, like I said, you have the fabrication skills to do it. I was just trying to watch your weight a little bit on it. I didn't watch doing tube cage. Okay, yeah. See, you already got it. Yeah, you got it figured out then. I was just trying to think out the easiest way. I mean, probably S10 stuff in it. Instead of the G body's almost a bolt-in swap, but you'll have it if you're just gonna tube it. Yeah, full front cross member swap. Yeah, yeah, that's a fair. You'll figure something out on it. You got the skills to do it. I'm just trying to always, there's 10 different, just like you solved the flywheel issue. There's multiple ways to do it. What's it saying? There's many ways to skin a cat. But the cat ain't gonna like any of them. So, but no, that'd be a solid plan. That'll be cool, man. Yeah, you'll get it. I got faith that like I said, you got the Pontiac all the way down there and got it fired up and drove around the parking lot. Considering how quick your time ran out on everybody, you proved you can do it. So, Dormer, I think he skinned people. I don't think he wasn't playing around with the cats. But I don't want to skin my cat. Might be mean, but I'm not ready. The cat here hangs out the shop, but we're not ready to skin him yet. He's actually pretty cool, and he keeps some mice out of the vehicle. So we just give him some food and take care of him. He's all right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bob's definitely on a roll, man. When you can launch and hit it with all four tires at the same time, that thing is gonna come out of the hole. He's not gonna have a problem 60-footing on people. That's for sure. I mean, luckily, I've noticed. I've been watching. I've been keeping an eye out on all the buy, sell, trade ads and stuff around here, and I'm noticing. I found Last week I found a few 6BTs on there, actually pretty reasonable. I found one for that a guy had. It was a 12 valve. The 12 valve, he had the complete engine. It was out of a second gen Dodge. He had the engine, the transmission. It was an automatic. The alternator, all the accessories, power steering, pump, everything. It was pulled out of a truck that the frame was rotted in half, and dude wanted $1,800 for the whole setup. So that's reasonable. If I can find something like that, that's probably the route I'll go in a motorhome. I was looking at cable shift ideas on there because I know like cab over and box trucks use a cable shifter for the 5-speed manual. I mean, I would really like the way to figure out to put like an NV 4500 in that motorhome would be ideal. Just have a 12 valve with an NV 4500 because that has like a 456 gear in it, but it's got them 819.5s, which are like 33 inches tall. But it's definitely going to need overdrive with a diesel engine because it's just going to too much RPM on the highway. So I'm going to have an overdrive transmission. So if I could figure out a way to put a manual in it, that would even be that much better. And plus, everybody, all my people friends, they can all drive a manual, so it's not a big deal. My mom can still wheel it. I mean, my daughter, everybody can drive a manual around here. So we kind of learn that as soon as we learn how to walk, we learn how to drive manuals. And I always wanted to instill the kids to be able to drive them. So, but yeah, that'll be the plan. We want to get a Cummins in there. If we got to go with an overdrive automatic, either way, we got to have overdrive because I don't even know if I could find like a. Well, with that, probably would end up needing like a 373 or something. I don't know if I could find a 373 for like a Dana 70 because that's what's underneath that's a Dana 70. So it'll be easier if we can just find a modern transmission and get put overdrive, just an overdrive transmission, and I think that'll set us where we need to be. I can live with that, be happy with it, and have fun with it. Let me put this up there. There you go. Put a link up there if anybody wants to pop in. I tried to pin it to the top, but I don't have my YouTube browser open here on our device, so I'm kind of stuck with what I got right now. But so that'll be the plan to come and swap. I got tires for it. I still got to find that wheel cylinder for it because that was the biggest reason why we didn't bring it last year. We was going to drive it down with the 440, but I couldn't find that rear wheel cylinder because that's got like double wheel cylinders. It's got one in the top and one in the bottom on the rear axle and that thing. So the one at the bottom's leaking, and I think I found it now. Oh crap! I can't think of the company. There's a place that specializes in these Winnebago parts, though, because that's on the medium duty Dodge chassis. It's on that. Dodge designates that as an RM 400 chassis. It said it's 19.5s, and then that's the first year for the disc brake front end on it. I just priced out new rotors for it a couple of weeks ago, and they're like $450 a piece for the rotors, but it's going to need them because those are the originals. And this is a mountainous area. They're pretty tore up from us running up and down the mountain all the time in it. So it's going to need a little bit of work, but I think with the Cummins in it, it should have no problem getting the Cutlass back down there to the no name. And we want to roll in next year. We don't want to. It was kind of cold sleeping in the back of the truck this year. If you ever go to a race or any event like that, you always got to stay at the track. We knew we was doing that from the beginning. It just sucked. We had that little bit of a cold snap at night there, but we survived. It was worth it. just to be there. It didn't matter. I guess we'd had to huddle up beside a fire, whatever we had to do to survive. We're all good, and we wouldn't trade it for nothing. We had a blast. But we're motorhome when it's finished. I think we've already decided I'm going to keep the Cutlass street legal. That's the thing with it. That car is always going to be a road legal car. I don't care how much faster or what I do to it. The intent of that car, as long as we've had that, it's always saying, yeah, I could probably get a rebuild kit. I couldn't get anything for it in time to get the no name. So said I was on there's a like a forum out there. It's like classic Winnebagos or whatever. They pointed me to a coach place that specializes in that stuff. So they should be able to get me some wheel centers. What's up, unfinished project, Dart Sport? And that was a nice truck you had on here earlier, man. Yeah, we dabble a little bit in big rigs around here too. One of my best friends I grew up with, he has his own trucking company, so we play with a lot of Caterpillar stuff around here. But so the plans for the Cutlass is next year. We're gonna put another just since the turbo we got on there is too small, we're gonna just put a second to that on there and just do some fabrication. I'll just probably just drill a 3-inch hole in that same side of that intercooler, and then just weld a nipple on it, and then just run each turbo into the one side of the intercooler and out on there. Because that intercooler, running E85, that's enough intercooler. I mean, on a good day, it pulls 25 degrees out of the air inlet temperature, so it works fine. It's doing its job, and then we won't have that issue with running out of turbo, because that's really what hurts us right now. The car just can't make any more power with what we got. I've It's going to get a new converter for next year, because that converter is definitely not loose enough for what we want to do. And but I got the power glide back there for it. We want to get a trans brake in that power glide. Probably just going to let the Holly control the shifting once I get that set up. So I think Dave was there with Ryan from Streetcar Chronicles. He gave me some insight on my valve springs. He told me to switch from the springs I'm running over to a different set. He told me to run the Brian Tooley Racing 660 springs. He said then I can bump my rev limiter back up to 7,200, because I was having problems with bending exhaust valves. If I would catch the rev limiter at 72, it was somehow the valve was floating enough that the piston was kissing it just enough to bend the valve. So hopefully we can fix that problem for next year. Well, them springs should fix it, because that's a dual valve spring setup. So, and I think Brian Tooley said they're good to like I think 7,800 RPM. So we don't plan on spinning it, because we're going to go keep it stock bottom end, because why, it's an LS, why not? But our goal, honestly, like I said, be happy. If we get back there, get everything done the way we want it. We want to be making somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 wheel when we come back to Sykeston for next year, and still be able to drive it to Lambert's to eat. So that is the plan. Tommy, like I said, he's on me every day. He wants to go get his Honda. He's ready for it. He wants to just practice driving the manual transmission. So as soon as we get in here, we got to pull the transmission out, put a clutch in it, because apparently the factory clutch is finally wore out in it. It's like number wear units or something. But we're gonna pull that out. I don't know if we're gonna pull the engine out that he got and start on it, which probably not. We have another D series motor here, so we'll probably just put it on the stand, because he wants to just put a mild motor together. I'm gonna teach him how to port the head. Tommy is at what, Rolling Hills Estates or whatever. He went up there for the haunted house thing or whatever. That's where he's at tonight. He ducked out on us, but it wasn't our choice. He ended up saying he was going to go to a haunted house, but didn't realize that it was going to be at night until I mentioned it to him, and he's like, "Oh crap, I didn't realize." So it'll be all right. So Tommy won't be back until about 10 o'clock tonight. So it would be nice to have him, but you know how that goes. But we're gonna probably, like I said, I'm gonna teach him how to port cylinder heads, make some videos. Once he gets his Honda here and starts on it, I'm gonna probably focus more on filming and then just make some videos from his perspective as a 16-year-old kid learning how to work on your own stuff. So I want him to do the clutch swap on his own. I mean, of course, I'll be here to help him, but I want him to do most of the work. That way he understands it. Because I think when you understand how your car works, I think it makes you a better driver. When you push in the clutch or then you release the clutch, when you can picture the throw out bearing, pushing in on the clutch fork or, and releasing, and you can picture the pressure plate clamping down on the disc. When you can just visualize that in your mind, I think it makes you a better driver. So we'll get him at it. Like I said, he wants to do a turbo. He said he's 16. I don't want to turn him loose with something that's making stupid power. So my goal is, Hill Jack, you know Josh Addis, don't you? Josh is the one we was talking about that had that. Remember that blue Honda he had that was making like 800 horsepower. Yeah, I mean, I want him to learn. The thing is, if you do everything for them, then I don't know if they're going to respect you as much. I think he should work on it. Yeah, and well, okay. Well, then so that's Hill Jack, that's where Tommy got the idea for his Honda. Between that last one, remember the blue one he just had the summer before last, and then he remembers Addis out here talking about the battle hatch in the days of the old battle hatch. So yeah, well, that's what I was doing on Finished Project. At No Name, I had at first when I come out, I had a 50 jet in it, and that's what picked up my because that car normally doesn't. Yeah, I know he's got a Skyline now. I seen it. I seen him running around. But that picked my car doesn't 60 foot good. Normally my car is 60 foot, it's like a 1.7, and then it picks it up on the big end. What's up, Punisher Lamont's Garage? Thanks for stopping in, buddy. But normally my car will pick it up on the big end, even if you watch it, which it's a typical turbo car. It's going to make its power up top more than down low. But what I was doing at No Name is, since that Holly has that built-in or that built-in nitrous controller, as I was hitting it with a 50 shot as soon as I let go of the two-step, and that fixed my 60 foot time down to 1.5, and it helped getting rolling because that's the problem. The car doesn't have a problem spooling that turbo up. It's just the fact that turbo is too small and the converter's a little bit too tight. So I was just pretty much spraying it out of the hole with 50 just to try to help the 60 foot time out, because the car hits 18 pounds of boost within probably half a second of releasing the two-step. So it comes up fast. It's just with a tight converter off of the foot brake, it's hard to get it rolling. So yeah, unfinished. That's what we was doing there. We was spraying just a little bit of nitrous through it, and then for the last run, I thought about it, just putting a bigger jet in it together when I was going to run, but against Redbeard, or for the second round, but I didn't want to blow it up either. So I had up to 150 jets in the glove box for it. I just didn't want to put nothing too big in there. And I said, I know that my problem right now is my exhaust housing's too small for my turbo. It's just a little 0.68 AR. That's way too small for a 6-liter engine. That's the bottom line. I knew it was when I put it on there. It's my fault. I ordered the wrong one. It is what it is. When I looked to order that turbo on the same page I was on. They had one that had like a 110 AR ratio, and then they had the one with the .68, and I thought I clicked on the one with the 110. I can program it to come on. That's the nice thing. That's the nice thing about the Holly. You can program it because I had it in no name. I was only spraying for 2 seconds. I was spraying for at the release of the two-step. I had it to ramp it in for 2 seconds and then shut off because by that time it's already got the motor's making enough, moving enough air that it's already at 20 pounds of boost and it's got the wastegate pushed wide open and that housing just can't flow anymore. So it just brick walls. It just, that motor with that turbo is like an on off switch basically because it lights the turbo off so quick, but then it just comes on so fast that it just can't flow the air through it. I mean, on the last run I made, well, the last 2 runs I made, I literally burned all the paint off of the downpipe coming off of the wastegate, the dump tube. It was hot up because basically, once it comes up with there's a boost controller built into that Holly too that I have it set up just on a pulse width modulation to run it that way, and it holds it usually between 18 and 20. And yeah, the Holly is nice. I mean, we ran the car for 2 years on the factory setup, just tricking it. Even when we sprayed nitrous on the factory, but the Holly is nice because it even has the ability, if you got big enough injectors, you can even just do a dry shot of nitrous and the Holly itself will compensate for it. In your drop down menu in a nitrous, it just asks you what you want your air fuel ratio to be, when your nitrous is spraying, and it has safeties on either end when to shut it off if this or this happens. It can ramp timing in and out under the spray. It just, to have an actual standalone though is just so much better than having the old school. We used to have to do it the hard way. Like so the biggest problem I had with it right now, and it showed its head on me, is I had the closed loop learn turned on at too low of an RPM, and I screwed my idle up because when I was starting it up and letting it run, and I think my oxygen sensor is probably starting to finally crap out because sometimes it'll take, when I fire the car up, it'll take up to like a minute and a half before that oxygen sensor finally warms up to start reading. Well, because I had the closed loop learn turned on under 1,000 RPM, the oxygen sensor was still cold, so it's reading lean. So the computer was dumping like 20% fuel, which I have my fuel correction limited to only 20%. But for like a minute and a half of startup, it was dumping 20% more fuel in until the oxygen sensor warms up. Then it would pull that fuel away. But it learned that and screwed my idle up. Yeah, I know what you mean, partner. Exactly. I'm still not using everything on mine. I learned more and more about it. I'll watch videos. There's a Goat Roper Garage. He knows a lot about things you can do with the Holly. I've learned a lot. Matt Happel's the one that showed me how to do the single Mac valve and how to do it like with a pulse width modulated boost control. And it worked out good. Like I said, I can hold it between 18 and 20 pounds, which ain't bad considering that turbo is way too small for the motor. Let's see, what do I got here? It's a 7-pound spring in there. Or no, it's not. It's a 14-pound spring in there. Well, you can learn it. That's a cool thing too, Hilljack. You can download the software and go through it and play with it. You don't even have to. If you just go on to Holly, you can download that. Yeah, Goat Rope Garage. Yeah, he does a lot of turbo stuff, LS stuff. He tunes a lot. I've learned a lot of little stuff through the years for him. He's actually got a cool channel going on. He's a nice guy. Shares a lot, helps a lot of people with this stuff. He builds some pretty cool projects. He's got a good sense of humor. He's fun to watch. But then everything else I learned from Matt Happel at Sloppy Mechanics. He was the inspiration of it. Because like I said, the Cutlass sat back there behind where the Samurai sat for 17 years in the corner. And the LS motor sat on the other side of the garage for probably 5 years. And then just one day I discovered Sloppy Mechanics, seen what he was doing, and then I decided to put the two together. And it's been nothing but craziness ever since. But yeah, Jack, if you go at Holly, you can download all that software and you can play with it. It's pretty simple. As far as standalone goes, I know they just did an update now, which is cool because now you can look at like if you're looking at your fuel table, now you can look at like the numeric chart and the graph at the same time. You can do it split screen. Before you couldn't do that, you had to switch back and forth. So that's the cool thing about Holly's. They keep adding stuff to it and changing stuff on there. I mean, they don't do it so often that it's a pain. You got to constantly update it. But when enough people ask for something in the software, they usually do it. So, and there's a couple prominent YouTubers that really work with that stuff, so they get the message out there for everybody and help everybody learn. But it's good stuff. Blowed his mind. Goat Rope Garage. And there's other one. There's another guy I learned with. He's got a Turbo Ranger. Oh crap! I feel so bad that I can't think of who his name is right now. I'll post it in my links, but he does a lot of LS stuff too. We just like I said, we're just basically doing this junkyard stuff. And out of base, the Honda is going to be pretty much that same setup. It's just going to be D series for now and how cheap we can do it. Just to port it out, single cam, put a eBay turbo on it, just let him have fun with it. If it makes 200 horsepower, that's double what it came with from the factory. So it's going to be a fun little car. But I don't want to make so much. One thing, I don't want him to hurt himself. Yeah. See, I got a nice 2D table set up to build boost on mine. But like I said, the problem is with mine right now, my converter is just a little bit too tight on the bottom. That converter was it was $125 marketplace converter, and it was originally built to be behind a big block mud drag race truck. So the guy, I talked to him about it that day, and he's like, "Look, he's like, I spec'd it out. He's like, in my truck, it done stalled around 3,800, but on mine, I have a hard time foot braking it above 25." Honey Badger LSX, yeah, he does a lot of turbo stuff. Yeah, that's what hurts my 60-foot time in my car, though, is the ability that I had the two-step on it set when I got into Sykeston. I had the two-step set at like 2650 because the local track we run here, the altitude here at the garage right now is about 1,800 feet. And the local track we run out is probably around, I think it's like 21 or 2,200 feet. So with it set at 2650, I could get it all the way up and hit the two-step, hit the rev limiter on the two-step on the foot brake without it pushing through. And when we got down Sykeston, I guess it was just because better air and the motor made more power, or I don't know what it is, but down there, I ended up dropping the rev limiter clear back to 2,400 because it was pushing through. No matter how much I pumped the brake pedal up and would hold it, I couldn't get it up to 2650 on the two-step without it pushing through the brakes. I mean, that's what caused the red light in the bracket race, because when we brought it up on the two-step, it just shoved the front wheels. And then we went and I took it back by the pit there and just kept turning it down until I could get it to hold without pushing through the brakes. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, I agree with that. A converter is way important. Absolutely. That's like this car. We first put the car together. Now that I'm learning on it, I mean, I always knew a converter was way more important, but I was trying to build the car really for as cheap as possible. I mean, you got to spend money where you have to. Like you got to have a good fuel system, or you'll just keep replacing stuff constantly. But the whole plan of it, just like safety stuff, if you're gonna upgrade and put safety stuff in, or anything that makes the car safer, is worth it. What's up, Schultz? Just hanging out. I mean, so we was just building the car cheap. I put my before I had the turbo on the car, I had the car. I put it together with stock 6.0 in it. And I had a stock converter, and I ran it for probably 3 or 4 months, driving it every day. Just bone stock, stock converter, stock motor, everything. And then probably about midway through the first summer, I put it together. And then that's when I put the sloppy stage 2 cam in it, which that's at Elgin. It's 585 lift, 228, 230 at 50,000 duration. I put that in there with the Pac 12 18 springs, and I needed a converter of any, because anybody that's done this long enough knows that any kind of cam, even something as mild as that, with a stock converter isn't fun. So it was really, especially 273 gears and a stock converter, it sucked. So it was just what it was. Yeah, boss hog. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. So we ended up on this, like I said, the converter. One thing I'm amazed it does hold the power on the big end though. So I mean, it's not bad. It just needs loosened up. What do I have done to my heads? I got that turbo cramming the air to them. They're just stock 317 heads on that motor. That's an LQ4, so it's the low compression 6 liter. So I really, like I said, that it boost wise. If I was building a naturally aspirated motor, I'd have put a different set of heads, like a set of 243s or something on it. But with boost, honestly, the 317s are fine. I think the 6 liter that Matt Happel made 1,000 wheel on, he had 317 heads on that motor, I believe. So he just had a big enough turbo, and I think he got it to like 980 something to the wheel through a 4L80, and then he ended up just spraying a couple little shot of nitrous on top of it to push it up to the 1,000 mark. He used to drive that truck everywhere too. I mean, it literally is a 9-second truck. It got to the point that his local tracks, when he rolled in, they just wouldn't even let him in. If he showed up with test and tune, they would turn him around at the gate. Like, you can't run that here. But yeah, I mean, if you're building an NA motor, yeah, heads, work on heads that flow, or especially with like the smaller heads, like off of the 5.3 and that, they get a little bit smaller combustion chamber, bump your compression up a little bit. But for a turbo motor, it doesn't really matter. I mean, for what you're gonna lose, just put an extra pound or two of boost in it to make up for it. You'll be fine. But we're gonna teach Tommy how to port heads. Yeah, I don't even know what this converter I have is though. That's the one thing. All I know, it's just green. And like I said, the guy bought it off of. He said he could, that big block, he could get 3,800 out of it. And I used to be able to get a little bit higher. Honestly, I could get it to almost 3,000 when I had the drum brakes on the back of the car. With the 273s and drum brakes, I could get it to almost 3,000 before it would break loose. And now that I have that Explorer 88, and it has 373s in it, and it has the Explorer disc brakes on the back, that I can't hold the car back now. It just pushes through. The trans brake will fix that. I mean, I like doing 80, but I don't like, even my daily commute anywhere I go, driving to work, anything in the car. I very rarely drive it on the highway. The most highway time the car ever really sees, like above 50 miles an hour on the highway, is just driving to the track, which is about a 40-minute drive. And if we're going up there to do anything radical, if we're like going up there to really throw a lot of boost at it or go up there and try to set the world on fire with it, when we do that, we usually take it up on our trailer anyway. That way, if we do break, it's easier to get it home. But it's been a lot of fun. I think it's best. It's been 1071 was its best quarter-mile pass. Like I said, it broke at about 800 feet. It broke two pistons. And I think it only trapped, it was low that day. I know it was under 120 mile an hour that day at trap. So, I mean, it definitely, it made a nice blister, an 8th-mile pass, broke two pistons, and then pretty much coasted to a 1071. I got the video posted on there. Yeah, I mean, we was happy that day because that was the first time I had a car that went 10 seconds. So, and I didn't want to break it that night, but Amanda was there and she's like, "You've been trying to get this thing into the 10s for a long time." She's like, "You got the power." She's like, "Quit running the 8th and run it all the way out the back." And we did, and it broke, and it wasn't her fault. I know she's there watching, she'll think I'm blaming it on her, but it wasn't. I did it. It just happens. I want to do some stuff here too. We're gonna probably spray a little bit of nitrous to that Monte Carlo. Since I'm going to be driving it for the winter while I tear the Cutlass apart, I'm probably going to just. I don't think I'm going to need the nitrous on the Cutlass anymore when I go twin turbo, so I'll just take it out. It's just extra weight that I don't need. So I'll just probably pull it out of there and throw it in the Monte Carlo. I told Tommy we could put it on his Honda, but he don't want to do that. So, I mean, what could go wrong? Take a 95 horsepower 1.6 and throw 100 shot of nitrous on it. What could go wrong? I mean, as long as the timing and the fuel's right, nothing should go wrong. But yeah, oh, I know that 3.8's gonna hold up. That 3.8's bulletproof, man. That's a good motor. That 3800 series too. The only thing that would break in that car, honestly, would be the transmission. So I just got to be careful with that. And be careful when you spray the thing because you know that's got that whatever that 4T60 or whatever. Yeah, I don't want to break the transmission in it. I really don't feel like pulling it out, dumping broken parts out, and then rebuilding the 4T60 for it. I need to drive it. That wouldn't make sense, would it, Schultz? See, this is why I do bad things because people talk me into this crazy stuff all the time, up to no good. All right, Punisher Lamont's Garage. Hey, thanks for popping in, man. We appreciate it. Thank you very much, man. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping. So when you build your hot rod, Dwayne, you're telling me to send it. We ain't built nothing yet. The garage is going to be cleaned out here in a couple days, maybe a couple more days. Don't listen to the D. Yeah, Hill Jack, you know what that 4260 is going to do? He sprayed at the wrong time. The transmissions are known to be made of glass, but it is what it is. But I guess we're going to get ready here though to wrap this up for the evening. It's been fun. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Thank you for the conversation. Thanks for the questions. Like I said, I'm glad that people ask questions because the whole reason my YouTube channel really exists is I want to be able to share knowledge or learn. If I can learn from you, I'll gratefully. If you know something more than I learn, hey, thank you. Thank you for teaching me. But I want to teach people. Hippie Miller, thank you for popping in, buddy. Hill Jack, as always, like I said, you have to come out. Dwayne, we had a little bit of everybody in here. We had Lars was here. Unfinished project. Oh man, I'm trying. I don't want to miss anybody, but it's getting hard to say hello to everybody. I know Dawn, Wendy was in here. Bob's Garage was in here. Man, we had a full house tonight, man. That's great. Thank you guys. First Responder Garage. I know Lars was in here. I want to make sure I get everybody. JB's little shop was in here. Everybody. So it was a nice little live. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you Tuesday night around 7:30 or so Eastern time. And everybody stay safe. You know, and don't get on live. Like we always say here at White Trash Motorsports, always remember, you can sleep in your car, but you can't race your house. Good night, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.